Yo, what is going on, everybody? So, yesterday, I had a very, very long and very interesting discussion with a girl that I saw online calling out the World Health Organization for their misrepresentations of what was actually going on with COVID-19. I'm not going to go too much into that, but what did happen is I connected with this person on social media. I'm like, hey, look, apologize for the unsolicited message, but I just noticed that you posted this, and I just wanted to say that it's great to see that other people are also waking up to this stuff. And we started to get into like talk about the deep state and things like that. But it took a really interesting turn because we started to go down the path of the kind of male and female dynamics and talk about domestic disputes. And she was saying, well, men are more violent. And I was like, well, really? She's like, yeah, but everyone knows that. I was like, but is that just your programming? Like, because, you talk about how you're awake and that you're conscious of this deep state stuff. I'm like, but do you realize that this is actually, what you're telling me right now is not the factual reality. It's just anecdotal and it's your programming. And there's more out there than just your experience. And she's like, well, that's all I have to go off. I'm like, exactly, right? So people are actually appealing to your experience. And I find that this battle of misinformation, right? Look, we all know that feminists are liars when they talk about feminist topics. But I would put forward that there's two sides to the story, right? They're either lying by proxy because they're telling you lies which they think are truths that have been told to them by people that either are lying to them or are telling you lies that they think are truths that they heard of a liar. So it's just a real mess, right? Very, very difficult. And we started to get onto the topic of like manipulation. And this girl was saying to me, well, guys should know this stuff and just get out. Like, why would you stay with someone? I was like, because some guys have only ever experienced psycho women because there's way too many of them. So we don't know any different, right? Because till I was in probably my early 30s, mid 30s, I thought that, basically having to deal with the bullshit in relationships was that's just how dating is. That's just how relationships are. That's not actually, look, and yes, if you are in a relationship with anyone, you're going to have headaches from time to time. There's going to be frustrations. There's going to be clashes of opinions. There's going to be disagreements. But it's how you manage those and how you minimize those through strategy and through understanding and knowing what to expect and working around that. That's where the magic happens, right? And I'm not saying that you can just go, well, I know what I'm doing and I'm awesome with chicks, so I'm just going to magically not have any headaches. No. Even the guys who are the most successful with women still have headaches arise. They just don't get so affected by it because they know how to deal with it and know where it's coming from and they understand. So for them, it's just like part of the process, and it's not actually something that they're like, fuck, I can't deal with this shit. They're like, I know exactly why this happened. I know exactly how to deal with this. I know exactly what I'm going to do to nip it in the butt. So that's the difference between someone who's truly red-pilled and blue-pilled, right? And there is no such thing as the purple pill. If you're red-pilled, you know the truth. You just know the truth. And you know how things work. People talk about guys who are conscious of things, but they date, right? That's apparently purple pill. Bullshit. Purple pill is when you're still making that transition between blue and red. You're still trying to undo that programming. Now, by the way, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to the individual, who you are, that I bumped into yesterday, just on the street as I was out, and he recognized me and came up and said hi. So good to see you. But while I was actually out, I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but I've had a bit of time on my hands recently, so I kind of was playing around with a particular app, and I've learned out how to do some cool things with it. So TikTok, go on, if you are on it, go and check out Ginger Troublemaker, and you will see the one that I made yesterday in the space of about 3 or 4 minutes. Just because I thought it would be interesting. And it gives you kind of a bit of a snapshot of what's going on in Sydney right now. But let me get on to the real topic. So when I was actually flicking through a couple of things on there, in amongst all of the ETHOS that I had to pass by, I found one girl who was actually talking about how to manipulate your partner into staying home when you don't want him to go out with his friends without actually telling him you don't want him to go out with his friends. Right? So this is the issue, right? Girls know how to manipulate men. They know. That's where the Destroy a Man Now book came from. How to manipulate men into pushing them out of the workplace. How to manipulate men into attacking other men. How to control men. Right? All of these books about relationships. The Manipulated Man, Esther Villa, when she wrote that book, she was run out of town by feminists because feminists knew that if men had the knowledge of what a manipulated man looks like, then they would know how to not be manipulated. And manipulation is the only tool that feminists have. And the way that they manipulate is by omitting critical information. Right? So, for example, when they talk about the gender wage gap, they go, well, women only get paid 77 cents. Let's say, for example, I think it's 15.7% in Australia as of like a year or two ago. However, that does not factor in public sector wages. You know that highly paid government jobs in which women are preferenced for diversity purposes? You know what I mean? So if you actually omit an entire sector in which women are being paid way more than men on average, well, then you can maintain a gender pay gap, which you can then utilize to force measures to give women more highly paid positions, even if they're not quite as qualified as a man for the same position, because diversity and because unconscious bias, right? So what happens when you remove the public sector? Well, actually, sorry, what happens when you include the public sector? The wage gap flips on its head. They go, actually, women are getting paid more than men for this in the same industries on average. Oh, shit. Now we need to give men special privileges to raise them up if we want to achieve gender equality. Oh, no. We can't take the special privileges away from women. We can't do that. Then feminists lose their power, and they don't want to lose their power. So in order to maintain their power and maintain the illusion that men have all the power, they omit information. What about in the domestic violence statistics? Well, they simply omit any mention in domestic violence, websites. They omit any mention that women might be violent perpetrators. They just completely leave it out. Because if they didn't leave it out, then people will go, oh shit, wait, what? What? Women can be domestic violence perpetrators too? I didn't know that. Holy shit, let's look into this. And then the truth comes out. And another thing that men get shouted down or by actually shouting men down, by telling men to shut up, by not letting men have a platform and talking about what's important, what then happens is that men can't have a say on particular topics, which do also affect men. So, for example, men are not allowed to talk. Women will not talk. They will lie by omission, purposefully, so that only their side of the story can be heard, so that only they can get special benefits. And their lie by omission would be that by omitting the fact that, so for example, like we've got the title of this story today, I was so desperate for a baby that I spurgled, which is sperm burgled, a man and tricked him into getting me pregnant. So feminists go, when a man stealths a woman, that's rape, because he tricked her into getting her pregnant, and he forced her into getting her pregnant. He was exerting power and control over her. He manipulated her. But then they've got fucking mainstream media articles saying, oh, I was desperate for a baby, so I just spurgled a man and tricked him into getting me pregnant. You go, girl. see the manipulation of the reverse situation, the different light in which it's presented. Because when you become conscious of these things by videos like this, gentlemen, you become conscious of the truth, because you start to realize the double standard. You start to realize what the lies by omissions are. Now, before I get into this article, I just want to say a massive thank you to a longtime subscriber and an absolute gentleman, Dynamite Rabbit. He said, have a beer on me, with a $20 super chat. Man, I appreciate that. That's an expensive beer. So, you know, I love that you're wanting me to get into the boutique beers. I appreciate that, man. And thank you to Peter Olsowski, I think it is, with a $10 super chat, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for your generosity. So let's get into this article now that I've given you the framework and waffled on for about 11 minutes. The desire to have a baby can make some women resort to drastic measures. While most wait until Mr. Right comes along and they are financially stable, others take matters into their own hands. Yes, they do. Lately, there's been a rising number of Spurglers, a new term for women who burgle sperm by various cunning and sometimes dangerous means. From pretending to be on the pill to buying 20-pound fertility kits on Amazon to inject sperm, there are many desperate ways Spurglers try to realize their dream of motherhood, with no consideration for the father's rights to have a say on what happens with his sperm, right? Because they lie by omission, right? They lie about the fact that they are actually trying to get pregnant by omitting the fact that they're still fertile, by omitting the fact that they're not on the pill. It comes as women who are desperate for a baby may not be eligible for free IVF on the NHS. Oh, boo fucking who, you didn't get free shit to have a baby that you can then deny a father to. Guidelines from the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, or the NICE program, are that women under the age of 40 should be offered up to 3 free cycles of IVF if they've been trying to conceive for more than 2 years without success, or they've had 12 failed cycles of artificial insemination. So there we go. If women haven't gotten pregnant naturally before the age of 40, for whatever reason, then they should get free IVF treatment. But let's not talk about, again, by omission, the fact that guys don't get free fertility treatment in the same way. Today, the average age for a first-time mother in the UK is 30, but 1 in 25 UK births are to women over 40. So that's 4% of the population having babies over 40 years old. It's not very good odds, ladies. I'm just saying, if you want to have a kid, at some point, you might want to do it before you're 40. Local clinic commissioning groups also have their own criteria for who should get help, depending on the catchment area. While single women can scour the internet for a sperm donor, which they often do, and by the way, there are actually lesbians out there who are getting guy friend to donate. Dig that out and put it in the description. If I can't find it though, I'm not going to. So please don't get mad at me if I don't put that in the description after this live video. While single women can scour the internet for a sperm donor, if they do not meet the criteria for free treatment on the NHS, they would need to shell out thousands to have it privately. The average cost for one round is just shy of £3,000 in the UK, and this figure rises depending on the practice. What is more, there is no guarantee the procedure will be a success. Between 2014 and 2016, the percentage of IVF treatments that resulted in a live birth was 29% for women aged under 35 and 23% for women aged 35 to 37. And see, these facts fly in the face of the egg freezing parties that women have, which I've talked about previously. Not all women, of course, but there are a particular demographic and a particular sector of the female population that go out and have egg freezing parties because they're like, I'm just going to freeze my eggs now and I'll have a baby later when I'm the CEO of a company that I didn't even start. Here, one self-confessed Spurgler and a victim of Spurgly reveal all. So this is women's confession of Spurgling. Admin assistant Victoria Beckett, 29. So basically, she's a receptionist. That's Victoria there. If you see this thought on the street, run. Admin assistant Victoria Beckett, 29, was desperate to be a young mum, so Spurgled. Now she's the loving mum to a daughter and has no regrets. She says, I knew I wanted to be a young mum. I'd suffered a miscarriage in my teens. I'm sorry to hear that. And it affected me badly. I'd hoped to start a family with my school sweetheart, but found out he'd been cheating. And look, I don't condone cheating. And, you know, I've done it in the past. I'm not proud of it. And it's something that I do feel guilt about, that, you know, still gets to me to this day. You know, but, you know, just being honest about it, right? I'm not free of blame here. So I'm not, you know, this is a pot calling the kettle black thing. I understand why people do it. And there's many reasons why people cheat. And, you know, some of them can be insecurity on your part. Look, generally, I find it's just a mismatch of people. There's mismatches in the relationship that cause a sexual and disconnect that causes people to, you know, stray. And that goes both ways. So just to clear that up, that's my thoughts on that. Doesn't make it right. And Stacey J says, thank you, Stacey. I appreciate that. Says, never let that condom out of your possession. Always use spermicide, and no, pulling out is not a form of birth control. Just go monk. Well, Stacey, you're lucky because your girlfriends can't sperm jack you, but they can cause you headaches if you do end up in a relationship with one that does give you headaches. I'd hoped to start a family with my child at school sweetheart, but found he'd been cheating, for which, again, as I said, there are multiple reasons that happens. Ideally, I'd be married before having kids, so I could bring them up with someone I loved. But I went from one failed relationship to another, so I knew I'd have to take a different route. I went to my GP and asked about IVF, but I was told I didn't meet the NHS requirements. I wasn't in a committed relationship, and I was young. So even the NHS recognizes that women should be in a committed relationship before having a child. But these ladies have other ideas. I thought about using a sperm donor and paying for IVF, but at £3,000 a go, there's no way I could have afforded it on my then waitress's salary. I'd have to take a more drastic measure, hoodwink a guy, aka lie and manipulate and trick a guy. I knew it wasn't morally right. Yes, you did, but you still did it anyway. But I had no choice. Actually, that's not true either, because you did have a choice. You did have a choice. You had the choice to not lie and not have a baby with someone's sperm without having any intent whatsoever to give them a say in the upbringing of that child, which, by the way, the child deserves. I met Tom on a night out, and he was tall, dark, handsome, and intelligent. I wanted someone with good genes, and he was perfect. So he was a utility to you. We began seeing each other, and unknown to him, I stopped taking the pill. I deliberately had unprotected sex at my most fertile time of the month. It wasn't long before my boobs started to swell and I had morning sickness. I did a pregnancy test and it was positive. At 12 weeks, I sat Tom down and told him the good news, except he didn't see it that way. Well, of course, because he was told by you, as you now admit, when you said, he says, I thought you were on the pill, he said. He then went into meltdown. I don't want to have a baby, he said. This is mad. The only reason he had unprotected sex with you is because you told him you were on the pill. You lied and you manipulated him into having unprotected sex for your own personal gain, and not to his, and it ended up being to his detriment. Because he obviously had the idea in his head that I want to have a kid with someone that I want to have a kid with when I'm ready. And the only reason I'm going to have unprotected sex with you is because I can't have a kid with you because you're taking preventative measures to stop that from happening. Guilt hit me, but I pushed it to the back of my mind. I'm sorry, I squeaked. I don't know how it has happened. Yes, you do, because you lied to him about being on the pill. That's how it happened. If you don't want anything to do with it, I can do it alone. Secretly, this was fine with me. So again, that's just lies and manipulation. I didn't think he'd be a hands-on dad, so I continued with the pregnancy by myself. Well, he would be a hands-on dad if he actually wanted to have a kid with you. He didn't come to any hospital appointments with me, and I don't blame him. Yeah, because he knew that you were going to fuck off with his kid, so what's the point, right? When I went into labor, my mum held my hand. Not your dad, I notice, which leads me to believe that your mum was also a single mum. Following in her footsteps, I see. I gave birth to a beautiful girl who's probably also going to become a single mum, because she's going to look at her grandma, she's going to look at her mum and going, look at those strong, independent women. How do I know that they're strong, independent? Because they told me they were. I can do it too. As I held her, I knew it had been all worth it. I would look after her. Tom came to my house to meet her 1 week after the birth, but I've not heard from him since. He didn't want to be a part of our lives, and I respected that. He's never paid maintenance or sent a birthday card. I don't hold that against him. I love being a mum, and I can't wait to have more children. Ideally, I'd be married, but if I never meet the one, I don't rule out being a sperm stealer again. Well, the chances of you getting married and having more kids with someone who loves and adores you, that meets up to your standards of being, where was it? Your standards of being, what was your description of him? Was it tall, dark, handsome? Oh yeah. Tall and dark. Yeah, anyway. Tall, dark, handsome, and intelligent. So you want a tall, dark, handsome, and intelligent guy to marry you, commit to you as a single mother. And by the way, you're going to be putting your kid first, as you should, just for the record. I don't agree that you shouldn't put your kid first. So you're going to put your kid first, and you're going to want a tall, dark, intelligent, and handsome guy that can provide for you, that's happy to be put second. Not going to happen. So this is the cognitive dissonance here. Anyway, here's the guy's side of the story, which is very telling. Salesman Danny Wolfenden, 31, from Bournemouth, was Spurgled in his 20s. The trauma knocked him for 6, and to this day has affected his ability to trust women. I wonder why. He says, I was casually seeing a girl, and she was more into me than I was into her. To be honest, I was seeing quite a few girls at once, and I didn't want a serious relationship. We'd only slept together a couple of times before I broke it off for good. I didn't feel it was fair to lead her on. And look, you know, that's, I guess, what should have been done if he wasn't completely transparent about what he wanted. I don't know what the conversation was, but, you know, I think that was probably the best outcome for him. Just would have been better if he didn't get her pregnant in the meantime. In the days that followed, I didn't think much of it and was away with work. Later, I got a text message from her out of the blue. It read, and I quote, I'm pregnant. God, I've had that message in the past. Sometimes it's a lie. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes it wasn't me. Once or twice it was. And when it was me, sometimes they miscarried. And sometimes they went and had a termination. There's all sorts of reasons why, you know, these outcomes don't progress to me being a fully fledged father. I can't believe I'm not a dad, to be honest. Like, seriously can't believe it. I've fucking, I'm dodging bullets. Like, even now I'm like, anyway, I couldn't process it all, and I started to worry about how much it would cost and how much it would impact on my life. I wasn't ready for a child, especially with a woman I barely knew and who I didn't love. The next day I called her and told her we couldn't keep the child. We weren't in a steady relationship, and the best thing would be a termination. It may sound cold, but I don't think it's fair to bring a child into the world on those circumstances. She took the news badly. She told me it was her body and she was keeping the baby. Actually, the baby is not your body. It's just in your body. So if you chop up that body, then you're not making a decision about your body. You're making a decision about a body that has no chance to say anything about it. And people have got different opinions on pro-life or pro-choice. I used to be pro-choice. Now I'm pro-life. I understand why some people make the decision to have terminations, and I think that you should totally actually avoid being in that situation to begin with if you're not ready to be in that situation. If you don't want to be involved, I'll do it alone. She hissed down the phone before hanging up. As a man, I had no rights and no control over the situation. Funny how she's got all the power and control. From all the crap we hear from feminists, apparently men have got all the power and control. This flies in the face of all of that and proves it to be complete bullshit. So, yeah, as a man, I had no rights and no control over the situation. The power was in her hands. Absolutely it was. I think she's deliberately trapped me, I told a mate, who nodded solemnly, because he knew that she had. Since that day, we've never spoken. I did try to contact her, but she never got back to me. She changed her address, mobile number, and blocked me on social media. If I'm honest, part of me was relieved. By having no contact, I could pretend it wasn't happening. She didn't want me. She just used me for my sperm. And now my son is a complete stranger to me. She was a few years older than me and panicking about her biological clock. This is why you should especially not have unprotected sex with women in their mid to late 30s unless you're prepared to have a baby with them. As I've grown older and more mature, I often think about my son, especially when I see dads playing with their kids at the park. Because even if she doesn't want you in her life, even if you walk away and she walks away and there's no financial responsibility, that will always haunt you. What if? Right? Because you know that your own offspring's out there without their dad in your life. In their life. And without your offspring in yours. So that will always haunt you at some point, even if you don't have to take the responsibility for it. So no matter what, it's going to fuck you up in some way. It's sad that I've never met him, and I do wonder if he'll turn up on my doorstep one day and demand answers. If he does, I would welcome a relationship with him. But I hope his mother is honest with him and doesn't paint me out to be the bad guy. Ha! Too late, buddy! Too fucking late! Because, your daddy walked out on us. Your dad walked out on us. It's okay. I still love you. I'll give you all of the love you need. I'll be the mother and the father. That's the storyline. Now, I haven't paid any child maintenance and I've never been asked, but if he needed... here we go. Deirdre says, it is a downside of facility free... Yeah, basically, in summary, this is a column called Ask Deirdre. And what Deirdre says in summary, I'm not going to read the whole lot, is basically... it's a downside of fertility treatment that having a baby it has come to seem like a right to fulfill a would-be parent's yearnings rather than taking on responsibility. Doesn't matter how broody or how much baby rabies a woman has, it shouldn't undermine a child's right to have two loving parents. Children ask about their parentage. If you lie, they'll pick up on it. It won't give a child a good feeling to say you tricked their dad, or to find out that you lied about the fact that you tricked him. Some women make great single mums, some don't. There's endless men out there who are pissed off and outraged over being tricked or eating their heart out over a child they can't have contact with. That's the bittersweet. He says, I haven't paid any child maintenance and I've never been asked, but if she needed help, I would be there. Now, I always use a condom because I feel worried about having my sperm stolen again. I'm now in a relationship, but we haven't got any kids yet. It's going to take me a while before I can trust again. So those are the two sides of the coin. That's the woman's perspective and that's the man's perspective. And what Deirdre summarized in her little response to that, which you can read in full. I put the link in the comments section below. So check it out. Like, have a think about this. Right? I don't want you guys to just jump into the comments section and be like, oh, fuck that bitch, or that guy's an asshole for not looking after his kid, or like, oh, he's a simp for wanting to have something to do with it. I really want you guys to think about this critically from a real human perspective, not just through the lens of, she shouldn't have done that, or he should have a right, or whatever. Like, just from a human, from an everyday bloke on the street human perspective. I'd love to get your thoughts around this particular article and my commentary on it. Anyway, guys, Really appreciate you being in here. Thank you so much to the 3 of you who dropped the super chats. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate everyone who's in here commenting, getting engaged, smashing that thumbs up. By the way, if you haven't smashed the thumbs up already, do that now. If you want to support this channel, the best way you can do that is by sharing. Actually, if you want to support other men, period, share this video, hit the like button, comment, share it, get the word out there to stop other men falling into this trap. Be aware of the red flags, know how to be cautious with themselves. Also, if you want to support this channel, you can head on over to sydneymigtow.com/Brave. Try out the Brave browser. I use it on my phone and both my laptop and my desktop computer. It's a fucking awesome browser. Works just like Google Chrome, but without the privacy concerns. And it does actually help financially support this channel without any outwards cost from you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. If you do want to support financially, you can always leave super chats on my videos, or you can drop a donation via PayPal, or my crypto links again, everything below. And I just making sure I haven't missed anyone. Thank you to all my faithful mods. I appreciate you all. And I look forward to catching you guys in the next video. Anyway, man, I'm out here for now. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.